So Daft Pina read my message, which was just very embarrassing. And I kept watching, and sometimes I would write, and Daft Pina would sometimes read my messages. They would read my messages. It was crazy. And, you know, there was like about 69 people watching, so it wasn't like I was the only one watching or anything. They would keep reading my messages. Not every message, but plenty. I didn't write many messages. Yeah, that was quite embarrassing. You know, I'm not used to people actually reading my messages, you know. It's totally different when it's in real time like that. And, you know, you can hear their voices and shit. That's totally different than other forms. It's completely different. And so I just kept watching, and you know, one time I said, "Oh well, I've beaten Super Mario Brothers 2, you know, in 3 hours," and I think they might have read that message too. But what I didn't realize was that, okay, I can talk about this later, but that's what I said anyway, to be all arrogant. And then at midnight, I tried to go to sleep, or rather at 11:50 p.m. I tried to go to, or no, it was more like 11:55 actually. I tried to go to sleep, so I was in bed for 15 minutes to see if I would fall asleep. And the thing is, I didn't want to fall asleep because I wanted to stay up. So yeah, I don't know if that even counts as trying to go to sleep. Speaking of which, right now it's 8:59 p.m. and I thought I was gonna try to go to sleep now, but now I'm making a video instead. It was only gonna be 10 minutes, but now it's 12 minutes. Okay. And so I was in bed there, and I of course didn't fall asleep. Maybe because I didn't want to. Probably also because I was not tired enough yet. Because I'd woken up at like, you know, past noon, like at like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. So to try to go to sleep at midnight, you know, it was kind of a bit too early, isn't it? So then at 12:10 a.m. I went back to the computer and I kept watching Daft Pina's live stream. And, you know, I kept writing some messages and they would read them, which was very embarrassing. How many? 30. And as I kept watching, I realized that, holy frick, like when he gets a game over, maybe not every time, but like 1 out of 3 times or so, when he got a game over and he couldn't continue, that's what the game would send him back to World 1, which is quite crazy. Which makes it a lot more difficult than the All-Stars version I played, where, you know, there's a checkpoint for every world. And also, it was like that in the American Super Mario Brothers 2, wasn't it? But they just had to make it difficult, more difficult in the Japanese version, didn't they? So yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, sometimes they would read my messages. I don't even remember what else I wrote. I could try to remember. Yeah, I mean, they just read my messages. It was crazy. Well, I think one time they said something about prove it, and I was almost tempted to be like, well, hey, go check out my YouTube channel. I made a Let's Play of Super Mario Brothers 2. But I don't know, maybe I misheard them, and I couldn't. You couldn't go back in the stream, like a rewind. You couldn't rewind in the stream, so he had it in the setting where you can't rewind. So I didn't want to be wrong and end up embarrassing myself even further. So I didn't say nothing. And this just really reveals my like it was like, what do you say, textbook social anxiety. Like, I'm telling you what, man. and I just kept watching them all night. And here's the craziest thing. Okay, so then after like 8 hours of them streaming, 8 hours, like I'm not even joking. Daft Pina is insane. He just wouldn't stop playing. And at first I had the idea that okay, maybe I should play this Super Mario USA. Let's play it and prove how I'm better at playing than Daft Pina. And then of course I realized that actually Super Mario USA is more difficult. And also I just hate difficult video games. I beat Super Mario Brothers 2 once. I don't want to do it again, especially not in the USA version, Super Mario USA Japanese version, where it's more difficult. So maybe I just wasn't giving Daft Pina enough credit. Still, 8 hours without beating it is kind of crazy, and that's when he started using save states too. He started using save states at around like the 7-hour mark, I think. He started using save states. Oh yeah, and one time I remember. We were discussing, someone asked him which emulator he used, and he said FCEUX, and I said, yeah, I use it too, it's a great emulator, it's very good, I said. He read that message, concurring. And then someone said, like, asked again, I think, or someone said, did he say FCEUX? And I said, yeah. And then I said the save state graphic gives it away. And then they read that message. And they took it out of context. They were like, oh, not like them moving his hand towards like the computer in the camera was showing, you know, his hands on his controller. And then I clarified in the chat that, like, no, I was talking about that's how you can tell which emulator you're using. And then Daft Pina's friend read that message, and then they understood. And then a bit later, or not just a bit later, but a pretty long time later, they were at war, even with using save states. I don't know. Daft Pina doesn't know the layout of the last level in the game, so it's kind of complicated if you take a wrong turn. For some reason he was fighting the Birdo in the last level for a very, very long time, even though the Birdo fight is optional, isn't it? I think it is. It's optional, right? Or maybe it isn't. I don't remember. But there are two different ways to go about it, and like he was in one part of the level which I couldn't even recognize. I didn't even know that part of the level existed. Like, it's quite a layout. There are different paths. Yeah. This is a lot of obsidian. Am I really gonna waste this all on a jail cell? Well, I guess. Because if they don't have a diamond pickaxe, then they have no way to get out of the obsidian. That's the genius of it. The not so genius part of it, however, is that there's no way of they can escape prison by starving themselves. You know, you could place a bed in there, have them sleep in it, but the thing is, they can destroy the bed. Nothing is stopping them from destroying the bed, which would make them spawn at spawn, which makes them escape the penitentiary. So anyway, I kept watching, and they were at Wart, and Daft Pina's friend was saying that you have to grab them from like the top, and then I said in the chat, incorrect. They can be grabbed from the bottom, and they read it, and Daft Pina tried it, and I was like, in that moment, I was really nervous because I think I might have been wrong. Like I could have sworn it was true. At least in the version I played and in the version Nintendo Capri Sun played. But he was playing Super Mario USA, the Japanese version. So maybe it is. Maybe you can only grab them from the top in the Japanese version. I don't know. Like I was quite nervous there, but then quite quickly Daft Pina was able to grab it from the bottom. So I was proven right. And yep. And so I don't know. No one else was writing that in chat, so if I hadn't written it, maybe he'd be trying to grab it from the top to no avail for a long time until maybe someone else would say it. So this is just like an arrogant thing. Maybe my message is what made Daft Pina beat it, 20 minutes earlier than he would have otherwise. In conclusion, I am terribly socially anxious, and I even got jealous of Daft Pina watching him for those 9 hours. I'm serious, 9 hours. Daft Pina's insane. And when I was done, or what am I even saying here?